Hey guys, what's up? GreenMachineSam back with another video, and today we have our first rebuild of the season. Now, I do my things a little bit differently. I show a lot more in my rebuilds than some other people do. I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. That's just how I've been doing my rebuilds forever. So what is going to happen is we're going to go season by season. We're going to go in through each season. I like putting a lot of effort into my rebuilds, and I like going in depth and doing some more traditional stuff that I just find more interesting to begin with. So first things first, we are going to be taking on the Minnesota Vikings for this first rebuild. The reason being is because me, as well as Vikings fans, I think we can all agree your guys' window of opportunity to go to a Super Bowl / win a Super Bowl has kind of come to an end, right? Your running game kind of isn't there. Your offensive line is falling apart with injuries. It seems like Bradbury, O'Neal, or Darisaw is always out with an injury. You brought in Reisner because Ed Ingram wasn't very good. You guys brought in T.J. Hawkinson last year. But I just don't think this team is very good, just being real with you guys. At least not Super Bowl contention levels right now. Especially when you got teams like the Lions and the Packers in your own division who are still looking pretty good even after some downfalls. We're just going through the lineup real quick. Main points of emphasis is getting some of these guys developed, both on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. So I am starting a lot of the younger guys, a lot of the guys with star dev. I want to get those guys going and hopefully trending in the correct direction. So I do like keeping as many of the guys as humanly possible. Now, of course, with that being said, that's not always possible, but it would be something that I would like to do going forward. So, of course, we're not going just complete fantasy on these rebuilds either. I want to try to keep some type of realistic thing going. But I did go ahead and force lose the games that the Vikings have lost through 4 weeks. So they are 1-3. The rest of the league is not correct, but the Vikings are correct up to this point. And with us being 1-3, I think it's time to move on from Kirk Cousins. The reason being is Kirk Cousins has only 1 year left of his deal. I don't think he's going to be worth re-signing in the long run. He's probably going to drop below an 80 overall by the time we're done with this season. But let's go ahead and check out who we are losing off of contracts going into next year. Danielle Hunter, Cam Akers, KJ Osborne, Marcus Davenport, Ezra Cleveland, Dalton Reiser, DJ Watt, Myles Gaskin, Theo Jackson, Kyrus Tonga, Troy Dye, James Lynch, Brandon Powell, Kirk Cousins, Adua, Brandel, Muse, Bullard, Mund, Hicks, Slotman, Quinsonberry, Ham, Joseph, and then Darisaw does have his 5th-year option, which we will be looking to pick up. A lot of these guys I don't plan on bringing back, whether they just don't have interest or they will be cheaper in free agency, or they're just going to be planning on regressing. And like I said, Kirk Cousins, 84 overall. He is 35. He's going to regress hard. He's going to be below an 80 going into next season. So I can't justify bringing him back when I don't think 3 years down the road where we're actually going to be competitive, we're going to be able to, where we're actually going to be planning on being competitive, he's still going to be a competitive quarterback for our franchise. Now, he's cheaper than most, but that is because Madden does take into effect regression, unlike in the real NFL, where they'll just sign somebody to a certain length contract because you don't have those guaranteed deals. I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the trade offers that some of the teams are taking. Now, I'm not going to take anything too absurd like the Browns trading Greg Newsome. No reason to. Broncos, no. Bears, no. There's no reason to. Tampa Bay, it's kind of reasonable, but they do have Baker, and he kind of fits their mold. Cardinals, no. Colts, no. Commanders are one of the only teams that truly make sense. I know they're high on Sam Howell, but they do have a decent defense. They have good weapons. They have an okay O-line. Most of these teams don't make sense, whether it's because they have an up-and-coming quarterback or they don't have a quarterback at all, or they don't like their up-and-coming quarterback. Like, I could see the Raiders, I could see the Patriots, I could see, like I said, the Commanders, I could see Pittsburgh possibly. Everybody else doesn't make a whole ton of sense to trade him to. That's just my opinion. Now, I really wanted Jeremy Chin, don't get me wrong, but there's no reason to go after him. We would have to pay him going into this season. But we are going to make a custom trade with the Commanders. We're sending Kirk to the Commanders for De'Aaron Payne, a 2nd, a 5, a 7, and a 7. A 7 of next year, a 7 of the year after, and a 2 and a 5 of this year. It is low. Don't get me wrong. I could have probably gotten more, but the reason I'm not going super heavy on it is because it is just a rental. I want to try to keep some type of realistic thing going with them. They're not on the correct path. I think they're 2-2 in this Madden universe, but they could easily start turning things around with a new quarterback. And especially in Madden where, you don't have to learn a playbook. I think that really helps, unlike in real life where it wouldn't make sense for the Vikings to trade Kirk Cousins right now because most teams wouldn't be able to develop him into their system. I did go ahead and start Ed Ingram over Ezra Cleveland. I don't plan on keeping Cleveland. He's going to be 26 or 27 going into the offseason at star. He just won't progress any more than what he already is. The team isn't doing great, so morale's down. But some players do have upgrades, which is nice to see. Some players playing really nicely. If you didn't know, putting a guy in the slot like Jordan Addison, not even necessarily Jordan Addison based off of his skill set, but Jordan Addison just, if you want to get somebody developed, put them in the slot, at least on the offensive side of the ball. They will get a shit ton of yards no matter what their overall is. If they're a 73 slot and you put them in the slot, they're going to put up yards even with a bad quarterback like, what the fuck is his face? Jared Hall? Something like that. Hold on, I'm gonna look. Yeah, so Jared Hall, when you have that type of quarterback, even in, I still go back to the fact of, I didn't do many rebuilds last year. I only did one, the Atlanta Falcons, and then the year before, I think my last rebuild on Madden 22 that I recorded anyways was the Saints. If you go back to that rebuild, I built a pretty good team in the second year, or the first year, and Jake Fromm fucking balled out as a 58 overall. So, there's possibilities that, bad quarterbacks can still play well. The only reason why I'm not going out and signing somebody, or I didn't trade for like a Jacoby Brissett included in the deal from the Commanders, is because I do want to lose games. I'm in tank mode. There's no reason to go win games if I'm in tank mode. I want a high pick. Right now, it's projecting us taking a safety. There is always subject to change. I do want to look at the quarterbacks here. There's only two that are really noteworthy. There's Beck, the strong arm, and then there's also Jim Daugherty going to the Rams at 9. So there's going to be a possibility of a quarterback coming into play for us, but overall, that is a position that I do want to look at for the future. So Jordan Addison did get a development trait increase goal. I didn't go in and play it. I think that's too cheesy. I think later in the rebuild, I definitely could consider doing that. Now, one thing I will say is we did end up going 5-12 and missing the playoffs. Chiefs, Eagles in the Super Bowl. Bad defense, 32 ranked defense in terms of rush yards and points per game. We were a middle of the road defense for passing, and we were a middle of the road team, and we were an above average team for passing on offense as well, bottom of the league in rushing and points per game. One thing I will say is, if I am enjoying the rebuild, it could go longer than 5 seasons or 4 seasons. 4 seasons is like, oh, hey, we've won a Super Bowl already, kind of completed the rebuild, there's nowhere really left to go with the team. Season 5, same thing. But if I'm enjoying the rebuild, I could easily go, hey, I'm going to extend this to a 20-year rebuild. It's just something I might do. 2 of our guys coming in third on both sides of the ball, Brian Asamoah and Jordan Addison for Offensive Player of the Year, and Brian Asamoah for Defensive Player of the Year. Jaron Hall and Jordan Addison both on the Offensive Rookie of the Year list. Ivan Pace at 6 for Defensive Player of the Year, and Mekhi Blackman. Mekhi Blackman's fucking old. I think going into year 2, I think I looked at him on the depth chart. He's like 25 already, so he's fucking old. Jaron Hall in what would have been 13 games, 3,200 yards, 22 touchdowns, 14 picks, 64 completion percentage. Pretty good season, and especially if you extend that over 17 games, he would have easily eclipsed 4,000 yards and probably 30 touchdowns, but he probably would have eclipsed probably 20 interceptions. So, he played well enough, I think. I mean, of course, you're going to play well when you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and KJ Osborne. But man, that rush attack was terrible. Nobody over 3.5 yards who actually got a significant amount of carries. No great rushing attack really made this offense struggle. Justin Jefferson, over 100 catches, 1,200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jordan Addison, 84 catches, 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. KJ Osborne, 69 catches, 800 yards, 9 touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson, 66 catches, 700 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like I said, you put people in the slot, and they go crazy because KJ Osborne was technically the second slot receiver as well. So when we did kick out into those 4 wide sets, it definitely showed up. Ivan Pace and Brian Asamoah both going over 100 tackles each. And it's good to see from the second year in the rookie. Interceptions, not really there, but that isn't too surprising. Harrison Phillips with 19 tackles for loss. Marcus Davenport with 15. Danielle Hunter with 13. Sacks, not really there. Danielle Hunter only with 7. And Marcus Davenport with 4.5. The only time I ever see players getting actual good amounts of sacks is when the whole defensive line is playing well. That's the only time I ever see that. Kicking and punting is where it's just whatever. Kick and punt return, you're probably never going to get those. Going into the re-sign period, we do pick up Christian Darrisaw's option. That is a big thing for us, securing our left tackle. I just can't justify bringing any of these guys back for what they're probably asking for in the re-sign period. It just doesn't make sense for me. Now, of course, I don't want to be mean and be like, hey, this, I'm just not going to do this because I don't want to. It just doesn't make sense when the guys are either regressing or they don't want to be here. I'm not going to sign somebody who doesn't want to be here and can't put up the stats. Our team did not perform last year, which means I shouldn't be giving out, great contracts to people. Danielle Hunter, we have to keep around though. He's a big part of this defense. We're going to give him $22 million over a year. I just can't justify giving him a long-term deal. I know he's not going to like it as much. And he does want to go test out free agency, but he's not going to get the chance to. We're going to franchise tag and bring him back for another year. You lost out on some money, you dumbass. Here's the season recap, just in case you needed any of the information that I did not go over. I did sign a new defensive coordinator in the offseason. Get the other one out of here. It just makes sense for a storyline. Get the old one out of there. We are going heavy in free agency on this first period. We're going after Rashawn Gary, Derek Nottie, Andrew Van Ginkel, Laviska Shenault, and Cam Akers. Yes, we are bringing Cam Akers back. He does have pretty good interest, and I think we can get him for pretty cheap. We are going heavy on Rashawn Gary. I think it's like a 5-year deal or a 6-year deal at that point. We need another edge rusher. He is the guy. He will help Danielle Hunter out. We need some defensive tackles and some other stuff. So we're going to go after, pretty heavy. On the next period, when we did get Rashawn Gary to sign, we are going after Christian Fulton. He is 25. He kind of sort of wants to be here, and he was relatively cheap. And apparently he really liked our deal. We even got bumped up to green because of the Jets deal that was offered. He did not like them at all. We're also trying to bring back CJ Ham. We're going to bring in Malik Reed, Theo Jackson, and others. It just makes sense to go after some of these guys. Got to go after kickers, some receivers, some more defensive tackle help, outside linebackers, middle linebackers, and just rotational pieces really at this point. Just fill out the team as best we can. That is one thing that I don't like when I watch other people's rebuilds. They don't really fill out the team. I understand you don't need those guys, but it's good to have those guys in those situations where, if you do decide to trade somebody off or whatever, you have somebody there that can be at least a fill gap stopper, stuff like that. We ended up getting a lot of guys to sign. We actually ended up getting Gary, Rashid Heed, Chase McLaughlin, Cam Akers, Christian Fulton, Laviska Shenault, Greg Gaines, Andrew Van Ginkel, Tyus Bowser, Derek Nottie, CJ Ham, McGovern, Turner, White, Theo Jackson, Billy Price. All these guys who are stopgap players that can, at least help us for now. Our favorites going into the draft are Jim Dottery, and then we got some, just some speed guys at receiver. These are guys that I like. Look, the big thing with receivers is you can tend to find a lot better receivers who are speedy than anything else. A lot of the old linemen are kind of guesses at this point, just looking at their overall ranges of their attributes is really the big thing that we're looking at here. Of course, we do have a couple guys like Bobby Altman, who I really liked and could tell he was going to be something special, so I sent him on. And then a couple other positions here and there, some linebackers, a couple extra quarterbacks, and a kicker and a punter. I think we're going to take Jim Dottery number 1, unfortunately. I don't think he's anything special, but we do need a quarterback in the building. I don't think we could go into another season of Jaron Hall. Now, like I said, he didn't play bad. It's just the simple fact that I think we'd be doing our fans a disservice if we didn't bring in a quarterback. So Jim Dottery, I like more than the other guy. I don't like him as much as Joe Beck. Joe Beck has actually fallen from 2 all the way down to 20, which is another reason why I am not really looking at him completely. I would love to trade up for Lobato as well, move him into guard, but I just don't think we could get back up there. Number 1, the Bears take Paul Lawson, adding to that defensive line, restocking on that defensive line, I should say. Jonathan Manuel out of NC State. Colts get a defensive tackle put next to DeForest Buckner. Lions take Kirk McGee, which after the draft, I will show you why it does not make sense whatsoever. They would take him. They would take a quarterback over Kirk McGee. And it's not because of Kirk McGee's overall. No. It is for a completely different reason. I looked to trade down, but with the teams behind us, there's a lot of teams that want a quarterback, and I felt like if I traded out of that spot, I would be doing a disservice to myself. Like I said, I didn't like any of the offers, and then the next 5 teams after us would all consider taking a quarterback that it wasn't their needs. So I knew I had to take Jim Dottery here. Even if he isn't the most talented guy, even if he does say 2 to 3, that's just going to be based off his overall, not his actual skill set or not his importance to a team. Jim Dottery here, 83 speed, 88 acceleration, 86 agility, 85 change of direction, 75 jumping, 76 strength, and 91 throw power. This would be a really fun quarterback to use. Not a whole ton of top-end speed, but does get up to speed quite well. Here in the second round, I was going to try to trade up. The guy that I wanted fell off the board really early. So we're going to take Nick Franklin, guard, out of Michigan State, 91 strength, 79 acceleration. So he does get up and go. He can pull pretty well. 6'6", power guard, 344. Doesn't look like it, but he is that. Next, we're going to trade off a second-round pick for 3 threes from the Cardinals. I just couldn't get their second-round pick for the value that I wanted to give up. But 3 threes does allow us to go out and get more off-the-line help, more depth. Bobby Altman is the guy I want. I didn't want to take him too soon, but I cannot let him continue to fall. Bobby Altman here, 6'4", pass protector, 22 years old, 302 out of Florida, 87 strength. He looks like a good athlete at right guard. He'll be a nice pairing with Brian O'Neill. This interior O-line is looking real nice. But here is the plan. I do plan on getting rid of Garrett Bradbury, so I am going to be trading back up into the third round, higher than when I was slated. That first third-round pick that you just saw, Bobby Altman, was near the top of the third. I needed to get up. I was all the way back at 25. Even with trading up, all the centers went before I could grab the one that I really wanted. So I am going with one of my latter choices, Danny Rayner here. 6'5", 21 years old, 293 out of UCLA, pass protector, 86 strength. Not bad. Here at the end of the third, we did give up the 32nd pick of the third round. We're going to take Derek Foley, speed rusher. I didn't know a whole ton about him, but he did look solid enough. He was somebody that I reached on. I thought he was a different linebacker that I had looked at, so that is why we took him a little too soon. Killian Bigsby is a freak athletic guy, 5'10", 185, 22 TCU, 97 speed, 98 acceleration, 99 agility, 91 change of direction, deep threat, hidden dev trait. He will be a nice third receiver, especially with losing KJ Osborne. I know we brought in Rashid Rice and Laviska Shenault, but this is who we were going to take. Leo Carmichael looks like a solid enough tackle. At worst, he's going to be a bottom of the end rotation guy or a 4-year backup for us. But he looks fine enough here in the fifth. With the 32nd pick in the fifth round, we're going to take Chris Ashmore. He was expected to go in the second or third. He ended up falling. He looks fine. He was actually the number 1 receiver in the entire draft class. He looks fine enough. You know, if he's the 6th receiver, I don't mind taking him here in the 5th. The other receivers just didn't pop off as much as Chris Ashmore did. And with this 6th round pick and our last pick, we're going to trade away. We're going to just trade away for best value, which is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Looking at the draft class, it's nothing special, right? But it is a building block of the future. We ended up building up that interior offensive line from picks from the 2nd round to the 3rd round. And then we ended up getting our QB. We ended up getting him a receiver, a right tackle just in case, another receiver, and a defensive edge rusher, basically. He's an outside backer. He's going to be a backup edge rusher. There's nobody particularly special. The guards should be pretty good and develop pretty nicely. Jim Dottery hopefully will develop as well. It's nothing too amazing. The reason why I didn't take some of the linebackers or the kicker is because I thought they had actually disappeared. I thought that they had gotten drafted. Turns out they did not. I was on the wrong fucking screen, and so none of my favorites were showing up. And that is also why I took Chris Ashmore, is because it said only one of my receivers was there. And it was the receiver that I was like, he could be something, but he's probably going to be a practice squad player. 2 80s, the right tackle that went after us, and then Jonathan Manuel, both 80 overalls, both looking really nice. Those guys look like franchise setters. Isaiah Kershaw going to the Jets, reinforcing that back end for him. Paul Lawson going to the Bears. Hopefully can be the next down the edge. James Wilkinson going to the Rams. Nazir Dawkins going to the Bucks. And Joe Beck is a 76 overall. That is tough, especially going 21 to the Bucks. That's really tough. Yeah, we definitely probably picked one of the worst players in the first round, but he's better value to us than most people. And there's Bobby Altman, pretty high up on the draft board just in general. One thing I do want to look at is I do want to go back up and look at Joe Beck's dev trait, and it's normal. So, I didn't miss out too badly. I think I'd rather take the hidden dev trait, even if it's star, over a guy like Joe Beck. Parker Cartwright, the running back that I really wanted, ended up going late in the fourth. We ended up missing out on him. Good power back, 75. Amari Powell, I actually found this guy in free agency. I was trying to fill out the team a little bit more. Superstar dev trait as a undrafted rookie. Crazy. And then Sergio, whatever. This was the kicker on my board, and I didn't draft him because, like I said, I was on the wrong screen, so I ended up not taking him. And, superstar dev, and we're only going to be able to have him for a year. Tyus Bowser to the Bills. We're going to trade him away. I know we just signed him, but he just makes more sense to trade him away than cut him. Garrett Bradbury going to the Steelers for Jeff Okudah and 2 5ths. Bradbury injury prone, and I don't really need him. He's kind of getting up there in age. Bynum over to the Bills for Adams. He is an undrafted rookie as well. He also has superstar, and then Felipe Franks to get contracts worked out. And this is why the Lions made no sense in taking Kirk McGee, because unless you're sliding one of these guys into guard, they signed Tyron Smith, they have Taylor Decker, and then they just spent the 3rd overall pick on a left tackle. I've seen them do this before in Madden and immediately cut this guy because he would be their 3rd offensive tackle. Connor McGovern to the Broncos for Forsyth and a 7th. We just signed him, so I'm trying not to get too much value, but send him away to a team that he can be a starter on. Patrick Jones, Akibule, Evans, and Josh Metellus, all guys that we would probably be cutting in the preseason. To the Chiefs for 3 6-round picks and a couple cap fillers. We do have a couple upgrades here that we do got to take care of after training camp and preseason. Keelan Biggs, we're going to go slot. We're going to try to get him involved a lot this season. He's going to be that 3rd receiver. Ivan Pace also had a couple upgrades here. We did do a couple drills with him. Amari Powell as well. I want to get him involved, see if we can maybe sign him to a really cheap deal. I know it would be kind of cheesy, but it is what it is. We got to, go get guys that we know we can trust. Cam Akers here is probably going to be the star back of the year. I got to use him. He's just a better, well-rounded running back. So that's it for Season 1. If you guys want to stick around for this type of content or any other content here on my channel, I'd appreciate it if you guys do stick around and subscribe. I'm going to be posting more videos like this. I got franchise stuff coming out. I don't know how much franchise stuff I'm going to be doing, though, over the next week or so, just because there's reports that the Madden update should be coming out, fixing draft classes, and the less games I play, the less games that are going to be fucked up and stuff like that. So I'm hoping to hopefully if the update comes out soon, then I won't have to continue to put out that franchise stuff. I'll have to restart. Not restart from the beginning, but restart to the point where I'm going to have to write down player stats from the first 5 games that we played on this franchise and then subtract the first 5 from the next franchise. I just don't want the players looking weird. It's a big bug for me. I'm currently not enjoying playing Madden after a couple seasons because, everybody's offensive line looks like they're 200 pounds soaking wet and their quarterbacks look like they're 655 fucking pounds as well as their kickers. They all look like they're the Penn State kicker for a little bit. Like I said, if you guys enjoy this content or any other content here on my channel, I'd appreciate it if you guys stick around and subscribe. I'll be back with more videos like this. With that being said, guys, I'm out. Peace.